It's funny, you and I were just talking about the whole Soviet Union thing, and you were asking me about my history of like how, just my family history and when I came to the States and all these kind of things. And I was just telling you that, and actually I did an event yesterday where we did an event at a private home actually for Russian speaking Jews, just mahazicking them, just strengthening them about everything that's going on. Because a lot of people they feel like they see that something is going on, something is wrong, something's going on, but maybe they don't have the resources to kind of put everything kind of together. Maybe, they're too busy. It's kind of like Mitzrayim, the people were just too busy working to see that there's like a Geulah happening in front of their eyes. But among the Geulah, there's a lot of things that they know something is wrong. They know Pharaoh is doing something, but they can't really put the pieces of the puzzle together. So yesterday we had an event for Russian speaking Jews. And I was just explaining to people that, in my case, which is actually, I guess you could say, a minority of the people who left the former Soviet Union, my parents were refuseniks. My parents were people who, they applied to leave in 1977. And, they both had, I think my mother, her father had military clearance. So basically they told her, you can't leave because, or my grandfather had knew, where missile silos were or something like that. He was like an engineer. So actually at some point they told my father, I think it was like when I was a little baby, like this is like 1982, they're like, if you want to leave by yourself, if you want to divorce your wife and just leave by yourself, you can do that. And then your wife and your kid will join you. A lot of people actually did that. They separated, they divided their family. And, the husband and the wife left to the States, and then 2 years later, people reunited. But who knows if that's going to happen? My father refused, just kind of said, no, I'm not going to do that. And they ended up staying for 10 years in the Soviet Union. And the stuff that they went through, my father, we were speaking about Sharansky. So my father was selling cameras for Sharansky's brother, Natan Sharansky's brother, I forget his first name. And the money was going essentially to the dissidents, the underground movement. And as a result, my mother and my father were both occasionally questioned by local police, by even local KGB. And this went on for like 10 years on and off. And a lot of people, even the people that come from the Soviet Union, don't really understand that what we're seeing in front of us today in the States and in Israel, especially in Israel and Europe, is basically textbook out of the textbook of what was being done in the Soviet Union, also was being done by Mr. Goebbels in Germany, but also what was being done in the Soviet Union. Like as soon as I hear, for example, people, you bring people facts about something that's going on, a fact that they didn't hear, let's say on the mainstream news, right? And they come and they say, oh, that's a misinformation. To me, the word misinformation, all that is like a Soviet buzzword. The buzzword says either it's somebody who's saying that, who's trying to run a psyop on you, basically a government, or if you're talking to a private person, it's them basically saying, listen, I can't actually, process the information that you're giving me. The person is too demoralized, as Yuri Bezmenov said, too demoralized and too, just stuck in their own realm to process the information, and it just flies in the face of everything they hear from the mainstream media. In the Soviet Union, it was very, and you can see what they're doing today. This is what they did back then, where they took, let's say you had a newspaper, Pravda or Izvestia, right? The two main newspapers. There were more, but these were the two main. So they basically made it like, okay, anything that's coming out of those sources of information is reputable, quote unquote reputable. Or today we have like CNN, Fox News, all these channels that are basically owned by corporations. Anything that they report, when they report it, is reputable. Anything outside of that, anything Telegram, Rumble, any, I don't know, BitChute, anything you and I say is not to be heard, is misinformation, is not a reputable source, probably conspiracy theory. And this is how they basically in the Soviet Union created an environment where people literally live in alternative realities. And even Sharansky, he I think gave a speech one time, I heard him, he said, he's like, even a person like me had to deliberately live or put himself in alternative realities where privately I held these views, publicly I said these things to people for, I didn't want to lose my job, whatever it is, but I knew the truth. But if I said the truth, it's like, what do you mean? It's conspiracy theory. The media said like this, the media said like that. What do you mean that, they used to show us on television. There was like 3 channels. They used to show us American cops beating people in the streets. How do they do this? They had a journalist, actually a Jewish guy from the Soviet Union, stand in Times Square. And as you know, Times Square back in the 70s and 80s wasn't the most wonderful place. And he just stood there waiting for something to happen. He would film it. And that's what they would show on Soviet television. That was America. When I was a little kid, I thought that's what America was. Cops beating people on the streets, homeless people, or just people of America. And if you said anything otherwise, if you told them stories of I don't know, my uncles were there, my dad's brothers were already in the States, saying how great, there were hardships, but like, we have our own business, we have this, we have that. No, that's conspiracy theory. That's just, what are you talking about? That's crazy. It can't be. People, and the crazy thing is that the people that were accusing my parents of conspiracy theories are people who today live in America, who eventually came to America and are, successful managers at like investment banks. And they forget that they were the ones yelling at my parents, that my parents were spreading conspiracy theories and all these kind of things. So there's a lot of similarities, to today.